Okay, welcome everyone. I hope this is audible with a lot of noise going around outside. I want to welcome you all to this event on data integrity and making data work for us. I'm Conor from UN Climate Change, Manager for Engagement, and the NASCA and GCAP portal sits under my responsibility. And I guess I want to talk about the step change that we're going to make as we move on towards a wider transparency and data accountability framework that has been started to be launched over the last number of days here at COP. When we first launched the NASCA portal back in 2014, it was really about recognizing the groundswell of activity that voluntary initiatives, non-party stakeholders, cities, businesses were taking to demonstrate that the real economy wants to move towards net zero. The real economy is moving on resilience, and that there is a groundswell of support out there. We've moved past that. We know there is a groundswell of support, but we know not everyone is part of that groundswell. And we know that it's difficult for everyone to judge what to invest in, what is a high quality activity, what's a high quality pledge, and who's following through with their pledges. So the work that we are doing and launched last year at COP26 with Michael Bloomberg and our Executive Secretary at the time was to upgrade the Global Climate Action Portal. We also had the recommendations from the High Level Expert Group of the Secretary General Net Zero commitments that were launched on Tuesday this week, with a request from the Secretary General to UN Climate Change to bring forward a plan early next year that will establish how we will bring forward accountability and data accountability. So we view that plan in its embryo has kind of three elements. One is ensuring that data is publicly available and transparent. And the net zero data public utility is a core component of that. And we really appreciate the work that we're doing with President Macron and Michael Bloomberg to ensure that that is taken forward. The white paper is being released this week, and we're moving forward to ensure that by middle of next year, that is released as a phase one, and ensuring that the data can be housed in one place and is publicly available. The next is ensuring that the data is actually provided, and that's the harder challenge as we move forward, ensuring that there is disclosure and there is going to be credibility of that. And I think the panels that we have today will begin to go into the challenges that are faced on that, ensuring the information is credible. So what is credible data? What is credible information? One is that it follows a clear standard. And the standards can be different. It's okay that we live in a world that has different standards if we're transparent about those different standards. So I think our first panel today will elaborate on the different standards that are out there, how they align, how they can coalesce, and how they evolve forward. But as long as we have transparency about what standard each organization is applying, then we can have credibility in the data. And the last step, and the one that's going to be most challenging and that the Secretary General has asked us to move forward with next year, is the verification of that. So ensuring that there is compliance with the standards that are established. It's a massive task. It's not a task that any one organization is going to do on its own. And we really look forward to collaborating with the entire ecosystem that's been built up over the years through many of the partners that are already in the room. If I start to list one, it's going to be challenging that I've missed anyone out. So there are many partners in the room who've been working over the last number of years in bringing that credibility, bringing that integrity, ensuring that we have standards and ensuring that we can have verified and credible information. And we're really looking forward to collaborating with all of you in the next years to bring that on to the next level. With that, I'll pass on to our first panel, and it will be moderated by John Fraher from Bloomberg News. John, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'll kick off very briefly by just introducing my panel. I'll go from where I am to my right. So on my right is Thomas Yagel, Chief Product and Operating Officer at S&P Global Sustainable. To his right is Dr. Barbara Buchner, Global Managing Director of Climate Policy Initiative. To her right is Swami Venkataraman, Associate Managing Director of ESG at Moody's. And at the end we have Oliver Marchand, Managing Director and Global Head of ESG Research and Models at MSCI. Oliver, perhaps, I think it's always good to sort of open up these conversations with a broad sort of scene-setting conversation. Can you give us just a very broad sense of the challenges we're facing in this sort of balkanized, disparate world of climate data?
So maybe I should explain what my context is, in that I see this public data utility that is being created. So in 2015, I started Carbon Delta, a company that kind of co-invented implied temperature rise, a temperature impact metric, and climate value at risk, which is a valuation percentage drawdown risk metric. And ultimately, an investor needs these metrics to do the capital allocation that we need. If you look at our net zero tracker, which analyzes 10,000 companies, you can see that net zero tracker is on a 2.9 degree path. And that includes all of the company targets if they were achieved. So there's a massive gap, and we can only see that if we have these models and the underlying data. Now, what do we actually need? We need very timely data on emissions, on production data, on asset locations. We need it for all companies. We need it at a daily rate. We need it verified, homogeneous, and all of that. Now, we are very far from that world. You know, you wouldn't believe how much work we have to just put into getting basic data points right. Let me give you a couple of examples. You guys all know Scope 3 data. You know, we identified in 2021 80 companies only that we can use as calibration data points for our Scope 3 estimation model. When collecting company targets, you don't even know where to look. Some, reported on their website, some in specific reports. Sometimes you don't even know what kind of entity is this that you're reporting. Some make an asterisk and say our truck business isn't included. I mean, there's like, and when it comes to asset locations, that is, basically protected IP. You have to dig really hard. So, kind of the gap between the investor demand of running the actual models that we need for capital reallocation and the truth on the data on the ground is so big, it's mind-blowing. So that's why I'm really asking everyone to contribute and to help push this public data utility forward, so that at least we have some public utility, for the basics.
Well, that's a very sobering way to kick off this session. Barbara, you've been in this business for a long time. Yes, there's a long way to go, but can you give us a sense of maybe how far we've come? Is there like a glass, at least maybe a little glass half full way of looking at this as well?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me here. And yes, I've actually been in this business longer than you, even though I hope it doesn't show here. But we have, at the end of 2009, started our analytic organization. It's a think tank, Climate Policy Initiative. And from the very beginning, we have been focusing on tracking climate finance, which at that point was not something that has happened very much. And we've been, really helping to focus on the financial flows only. So it's an additional dimension to what you said. So I think since that point, we have come very far in the sense of getting better data, particularly on the financial flows. But we've also, I think, had a momentum over the last few years with all these net zero pledges from public initiatives, from private initiatives. We had a growth of initiatives, of coalitions, of new pledges coming out almost every day, which obviously is very welcome news. But I think what we're missing now is actually bringing this all together and really trying to understand whether these pledges translate into concrete action. That's not only at the company level. I think we at CPI try to focus on both public and private, so make it even more complicated, and we are even further away. But I think it really is important to bridge between the different silos and bring together, a way of a set of guardrails to really kind of understand what are different initiatives, coalitions doing, and how can we therefore understand progress. We've been doing some of that, and be happy to share more later. But again, I think we've made a long way from where we started like more than 10 years ago, but now we really need to become really put integrity and accountability at the core. And this is why I think this initiative is really important, because we need to bring it all together and avoid duplication and make it actionable.
Thank you. And Swami, can you talk to us a little bit just about the challenges that we have trying to get the different disclosure standards to sort of to talk to each other, how to sort of join up together what we do have right now?
Sure. So I think part of the frustration has been that you have seen various efforts to improve disclosure. Some of them started off being voluntary. So you have TCFD, and then there are others that are now slowly becoming more mandatory regulatory in nature, whether that's the SEC or whether that's ISSB. If as we go along this path where we are going to create fragmented, likely looking at this point, fragmented regulatory jurisdictions, each having slightly different requirements, I think it complicates the task for the users of the information. And two, it probably makes something like the public utility that's being proposed here even more useful, because at the very basic level, well before you can even get to analysis of the data and creating products out of it, you have to create data in a way that's homogeneous and useful and comparable across companies, across countries, and that has been a big task for us already. A lot of the work. I don't think it would be an exaggeration if I were to say that half the time is being spent just getting the data to be comparable at this point and homogeneous at this point. And then the work remains of actually analyzing and producing products.
Thomas, do you want to get in on that?
I do, but I guess I'm thinking about your comment about a long history.
Hold the mic.
Yeah, sorry. I'm thinking about your comment about a long history in the market, and I'm new to sustainability, but not new to data at all. My entire sort of 15-year career within S&P Global has been focused on data, and so we really have seen the value in the financial markets as there's been more standardization and alignment across frameworks, as data becomes more available electronically and doesn't have to be scraped from every single document. And so that's the opportunity with this data utility is starting to solve some of those apples to oranges problems in the as reported data, tackling the questions about what's reported in the financials. Are they including the trucking business or not? Looking at historical data, how do you incorporate M&A into emissions data and so forth?
Barbara, can you talk a little bit about some of the solutions that you think we can build on from here? Like, where are we seeing promising? Where are you seeing sort of promising initiatives that can be part of this bigger solution that we're talking about?
Yeah, no, very happy to, and I think obviously several are already here on this panel and in the room. And I also just want to start by saying I fully agree that we need kind of to work together. I think this is something we can't kind of achieve by our own. I think what we've been doing at CPI, we've been piloting last year for the COP26 presidency something that's called the Net Zero Finance Tracker. It actually brings together different types of information on financial flows, but also on the targets and objectives of in this case, it was only private financial institutions, and then on how they're operationalized in a day-to-day business in the due diligence of these investors. And what we've seen in the context of that Net Zero Finance Tracker is actually that there's been a large interest of people to really and organizations to work together. I think everyone realizes that, we can learn from each other, and different organizations have different types of information. And I think we have a big membership of this Net Zero Tracker just to exchange information and also to use new types of, data science. And I see Truman here from OS Climate, like open source data and some other types of really information that can help bringing together these types of data. So I think there's a lot out there, and therefore I think I also appreciate the team behind the public utility reaching out and really trying to learn from all the experiences, all the initiatives, and really build on that. Because again, I think there's a lot that we need to have as this public utility, and then there's a lot that can be done in addition to complement this basic kind of, you know, basic kind of like place where the core information sits, and then we can complement that. But I think, you know, bottom line, I really think we need to first kind of map out what's out there, where are the best types of information for different types of indicators, not only kind of emissions, but really more on that, so to give a comprehensive understanding of whether institutions make progress towards their pledges.
And what are concrete examples of that, of where you see currently the best in school data?
Well, again, I don't want to make, you know, some publicity.
I mean, I think one of the things to keep in mind is the utility, such as the one we're talking about right now, is it can only aggregate data that is disclosed. So what we're really talking about is where do you see sort of a best-in-class emerging disclosure standards, if you will, right? That's really what we are, and there is real value in the kind of work that the ISSB is doing or the SEC is trying to do in the US. And I want to point to a nuance there, and even if I just focused on the climate part of it, right, not other aspects of ESG. When as a rating agency, when we look at it, we use climate data in two different ways. We use data to analyze credit impact. So even though you're talking about net zero by 2050, there's often things like, for example, even technology companies and very carbon light companies, if you will, also have a lot of work to do on scope 2 and scope 3 and so on in terms of being aligned in that pathway. But equally, there are carbon heavy companies whose fundamental business model itself is at risk as a result of the carbon transition. And when you're talking about those kinds of companies, there's a whole lot of other work that needs to go into our analysis in understanding the impact on companies. That has to do with the nature of their assets, the location of their assets, the competitiveness of those assets, the local regulatory and industry competitive dynamic in which these companies are operating, and so on and so forth. So one of the big values in things like the ISSB or hopefully and other regulatory jurisdictions are doing is that they can require companies not only to disclose, but also talk about it in the manner that they descriptively do when they talk about it in their annual reports and discuss what it means to the future of their business. There is a real value in that sort of disclosure existing as well. So I just want to distinguish between what is the best kind of data you need and what's the value in something like a utility making it available. There's enormous value in the utility, but there's equally enormous focus needed in the sort of data that is getting to be disclosed. So we have products that cater to both. A carbon transition assessment that speaks to high carbon sectors and that speaks to more nearer term credit risks, and a net zero assessment that sort of speaks to the longer term temperature alignment and other kinds of issues.
Oliver, I'd like to take that idea of, you know, the data is only as good as the disclosure that we're going to get. And I'd like to sort of bring in the sort of the political climate into this. I mean, how much do you worry? You look at the SEC, what's happening in DC, the pushback against woke capitalism, the pressure on the SEC, all these criticisms of the SEC that the burden that you're putting on companies is going to be too large. Are you worried that we're going to see backtracking in Washington that will allow companies off the hook, so to speak, and we'll see a poorer quality of disclosure because of it?
So I think the MSCI view is that ESG is actually completely apolitical. It's risk management. We live in the age of, with social media, of like hyper accelerated information that is floating around in the internet. And every investor is going to use all of that information for risk management, and that includes ESG topics. So, we're not too worried about, that aspect. Obviously, there are a lot of regulatory developments that, the firms that we represent have to adhere to. I think that is, a good idea generally. I mean, that there's a little bit of oversight. It's part of the G pillar of ESG. Yeah, we'll see what the actual, implementation over the next 5 to 10 years of that will be. Certainly, it does lock up, let's say resources. And the thing that I personally worry about is that it kind of limits innovation, because for startups, some of these requirements are going to be really, really hard to meet.
Yeah, so I just want to jump on two comments there. One around the sort of backlash in Washington. I think, you know, there's obviously some significant pain that comes out of some of that, but there's also, I think, some of it reflects some need for additional clarity and messaging and understanding what products are in the market more broadly. So I think there is, you know, I think there's a positive benefit from being forced to be introspective about how we're labeling things and what we're thinking about, so that the broader market understands what they are. The second point I was going to make around sort of the quality of the reporting and the reporting is also an introspective question, which is just the act of starting to report, we think has an impact on companies actually reducing their emissions and making an impact. So, you know, whether the data is perfect or not, there's still an activity going on within those companies that's introspective to think about what their emissions are, and that's the first step to being able to change anything.
Just to add a very similar point, and I think I just wanted to bring some lessons actually from the public sector, because there again some of the reporting of more on the climate finance side from public development banks has started much earlier, and I think while initially that required quite a bit of capacity building inside these organizations because they are quite complicated methodologies, I think it has really triggered more ambitious targets over time, and it has like made them kind of change their strategies internally and also think more about like Paris alignment and net zero. So I do think that there is actually, while it's not perfect and it requires capacity, I do think it triggers, you know, it kind of enables them finally to look at that as a real issue, and really in this way, while it's maybe not perfect, but it kind of makes, I think, hopefully will make them more ambitious. And just on the second point I wanted to make, because you asked before what are good examples, I do want to kind of maybe highlight just one of the alliances that are out there, the Net Zero Asset Owner Alliance, which have made really good progress internally, trying to be, you know, very thorough and think about what are metrics, what is data, and basically in this way kind of really trying to, again, trigger the market to become more ambitious and certainly set a standard within that context.
Can I add a quick point? I think there is a difference. The key point is what Oliver started off with, which is that you have to show that this analysis is relevant to risk. That is the key there. In our research, in our outreach, we always try to emphasize where we see the relevance to credit risk when we talk about climate net zero, when we talk about carbon transition. And as long as you can show that, I think the argument that it is political becomes weaker. And it might also be a different proposition to the extent that it is a politically driven opposition to, say, the asset owners in the state. So the state pension funds, for example, if the state governor is opposed to it politically and distilling the pension funds, you cannot use ESG in managing your assets. That's a slightly different, cup of tea for them to deal with. But as far as us, largely data providers or largely people who provide analysis and scores, I think the key is connecting it to risk. And as long as you can do that, I think there's not much of a case to be made that this is political.
Are there particular sort of compelling examples that you cite when you're making that argument?
Sure, yeah. I mean, let me go back to a few different examples. And I want to go back to a really old example to cite this. 2019, September. This was before the pandemic. And so we downgraded Ford Motor Company from investment grade to non-investment grade. It's a big move. And we prominently cited one of the reasons as being a lack of a credible electric vehicle platform and strategy, among other things. But that was a key sort of example to show, look, this is material. The industry is moving in one direction. We see Ford's continued reliance on this. Social is not very relevant here, but very quickly we've also put pharma companies, including Johnson & Johnson, on a negative outlook on account of social risks arising out of things like opioid litigation and talc litigation and so forth. Those are very real social considerations. So as long as you can keep pointing the connection to risk, I think there's not much of a case to be made that this is a political agenda.
Well, we are running short of time. This is a lightning fast panel, and I need to hand over to my colleagues so we can get into the nuts and bolts of DPU. But I'd like to give you all the opportunity to give like one last closing remark for our audience to take away. Oliver, start with you.
Well, maybe I'll just repeat my my ask for everybody to read the documentation of the first design draft, which will then lead to the development of this public data utility platform.
Sorry.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think to the extent in your all roles you can support the emergence of consistent public disclosure requirements, that would be the other big thing to do.
Barbara?
Well, I think just like really make data usable. I think for me the important thing is that the data is granular enough that also, decision makers, policy makers really can use them in order to make. They don't want to.
I'm going with usability also. I think once you have this sort of much more comprehensive database of emissions for a large universe of companies that's comparable, the sky's the limit. You can really build from there, and it's exciting.
Barbara, were you finished? Okay. Well, thank you very much for this simulating panel, and we're going to hand over to Priya for panel number 2. Thank you.